20-year sibling rivalry, Mario and Luigi team up using synchronized super moves in their most ridiculous adventure ever. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound, everybody. In today's video, we are donning the Mario cap and collecting some coins for an unlikely RPG adventure on the Game Boy Advance known as Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and its 3DS remake Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. Woo! Your boy just got a gift card right now. I am getting so many rewards just by answering simple questions online.
Gift cards, you say? How does a most distinguished businessman like myself get involved?
You want to win gift cards like me? It's this simple. Head over to Ipsos, I say, and start taking surveys right now. If you do so, you can win so many different types of gift cards by taking part in research and answering simple questions to earn those rewards. My personal favorite is the Starbucks gift card. Not because I like to drink coffee, but I like to treat my fiance right, and she loves Starbucks, so taking her out to a nice cup of coffee and not having to pull out of my wallet for it, whew, it's a good feeling. That said, treat your loved ones right. Don't be afraid to pull out a pocket for them, okay? So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description right now to start earning rewards with Ipsos, I say, today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mario movie is out today with He Is So Cool Chris Pratt donning the Mario cap and giving us an Emmy Award winning performance. I cannot wait to see what my man does, but ladies and gentlemen, y'all know this seed was planted back when I tested out the Nintendo Switch online games. It was there, you may recall, I specifically called out Superstar Saga and said, oh my gosh, this game is so charming and hilarious, I need to do a full playthrough. It was then I realized, wait, we're about a month out from the movie. What a perfect time to play it through for the first time. So I did that today. We're gonna talk about it, plus my time with the 3DS remake. I'm really excited to share some thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not delay any further. Let's take these gloves off. It's time to get serious and talk about Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. If you're new here and you're into nostalgic and retrospective content, consider subscribing. Let's begin with the complete box experience and gradually go through my time with the game. All right, back in the box for the Game Boy Advance, by the way, which is about $140 online now. My buddy gave me a good deal, about, I think it was $100 when it was all said and done. So shout out to my friend. He's always supporting Retro Rebound. He knows what these games are doing, so appreciate him dearly. But with that, let's take a look at this beautiful complete in box game, where the back starts off by saying, an adventure so big you'll need both bros. Prepare for an epic journey beyond the borders of the Mushroom Kingdom as Mario and Luigi team up for a hilarious action-filled role-playing game. The deep storyline and gripping puzzles of a role-playing game combined with awesome action elements to make this adventure a Mario experience like no other. And co-signed by yours truly. There's a lot here that has extreme personality, unlike any Mario game I've played before, and I'm having a bit of an epiphany. I'm having some childhood regret too, because I never played this game and it was perfect for when I was that age, but still, much to talk about. Let's read these sub-bullet points and then I'll share more on my experience. All right. It says, cross the border. A huge cast of wacky characters and strange new enemies await in the vast lands of the Bean Kingdom. Bros Power, a unique simultaneous control setup, lets you control each brother separately or team them up for super moves. Buddy Up, you'll need to be able to team up to take on a jumping challenge and action-packed reflex testing battle systems. And get linked. Link up with any Super Mario Advance game for multiplayer Super Mario Bros. Madness. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this game is something else, I gotta say. It's hilarious, it's somewhat challenging at times, at least the original, as we'll talk about 3DS separately in a moment, but it is so many different things that this is one of the most accurate back-of-the-box descriptions that you'll see. It is truly an adventure so big that you need both bros, because there is a lot of content packed into it, almost like 20 hours worth, which was crazy. But you'll see here, also jam-packed is the complete box experience. So if you're paying the full price, you're gonna get the manual. We'll go over that in a little bit. Nintendo Power ad here, and it'll tell you what version of Nintendo Power was coming with, which was the one promoting Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which I thought was pretty cool. More on that in a moment, actually, because you're going to see Tactics pop up again. You'll notice a lot of Nintendo marketing synergy, which I always appreciate. You have the booklet here. We already know what that does. You have the Game Boy player ads. Actually, another fun fact, if you go inside this manual here and we tab around right here, hold on, we're just a page off, you will see right in the middle of the manual is an ad for this thing, which I have personally never seen before. Usually that's in the back or the front, not right in the middle. And then we got another little promotion here for Nintendo.com. So yeah, lots of little slips here. And you know me, I love collecting the slips. And it says, for this, your journey is just beginning. And this is a promotion of just a ton of Game Boy Advance games. You got the original Fire Emblem. They also go over Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Sorry, this is sort of Mana, but I know after this is, there we go, Tactics Advance. So yeah, they just, Golden Sun especially, so many great RPGs. So they had a bunch here, which I liked. But to get into the game now, let's go into the manual because I have so many thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. So cracking it open, first of all, it's a Nintendo manual. You know it's going to be illustrated. We love that stuff. It goes over the cast of characters. Now, you may recognize the left page, right? Your typical Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser. Here's what I like about the game. Point number one, right off the rip. This isn't another Bowser storyline. And of course, you don't play Mario for the stories, but when you're getting into an RPG, your expectations for the narrative just naturally raise a little bit. So what I was really pleased to find out is, yes, it's a hilarious game. You know, Bowser's always taking L's, getting fired out of a cannon. Just a lot of misfortune for him in this adventure. Luigi's always getting clowned on. Like, they don't even call him by his name. It's like, hey, Green Stash or whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, like, just call him by his name. Respect my man. But also, what I find so refreshing is the different villain cast, which you're going to see here in this manual. You're going to see Cackletta. You're going to see Queen Bean, Fawful. This is a whole new villain cast, at least to me, especially. I'm not super entrenched in the Mario lore, so I like the setup for the story right away. For those who don't know, Princess Peach had her voice stolen, and it's been replaced with explosive vocabulary, so much so that it's destroying the Mushroom Kingdom. So now Mario and Luigi must venture out, Luigi reluctantly, by the way, he wasn't supposed to be here, but Mario and Luigi venture out to try to get Peach's voice back. And what's funny is because Bowser wants to kidnap Peach, but if he kidnaps Peach, she's going to destroy his whole castle. So he's like, yo, we got to do this together. So he's actually helping you along, which I thought was really cool. It's a nice twist on the familiarity of the series. Something that may sound familiar if you keep up with the Retro Rebound content. You watched my Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog video, how I complimented the interesting twist on things you typically know and expect that only series with a lot of legacy can do. This is just another example of that. It's really refreshing because I'm used to the Mario and Bowser storyline, and they give me something here that's not only super charming and really well written, but on top of that, it just introduces an entire new cast of villains, which I thought made it just interesting inherently. Now on to the next page of the manual. You'll see here it talks about field controls, where you have the A button doing an action for the front character and the B button doing a action for the rear character. And you can switch between Mario and Luigi here in this beautiful 16-bit RPG. There's a guide to Mushroom Kingdom and all the places you'll explore, like Chucklehuck Woods, Woohoo University, there's Teehee Valley, Hoo Hoo Mountain, Stardust Fields, some ridiculous names here, but they're great. And you'll see here as you get into the game, there are 3 distinct points that are about moving around with solo actions, running into an enemy on the battlefield, and is there time to sightsee on your adventure? And the answer is yes. So let's get into the individual actions. What I really like about this game is that it's highly interactive and action-based, where it's as much of a Mario game as it is a turn-based RPG. Of course, if you say turn-based RPG, it makes me sick to my stomach, but I really just turn my head immediately and go, what's that? What? Turn-based RPG? Okay, what is that? I just naturally get interested and invested in that. It's my favorite genre. However, when you add action elements to it, I'm a little reluctant at times, but here I think it's done really well. An example of a time I was reluctant is, think of the South Park games. You had the Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, and the Fractured Butthole went more action-based, and I wasn't crazy about that. So this weird fear I had kind of cropped up. In this game, what happens is the A and B button are everything to you. They're your jumping in the overworld. They're also your jumping in combat. So unlike your typical RPG, like everything we saw in this booklet here, what you're actually going to be doing is leaping on your enemies. Now, one thing that's great about the remake is they actually increase the damage you can do, which speeds up some of the battles. So it's all about timing. What you'll do is you'll select Mario and you'll do a solo action where you're going to leap on an enemy. And once you do, as Mario's about to hit the enemy, you press A at the right time and you'll do more damage. If you miss, you still do damage, but not nearly as much. So you're constantly staying engaged, making sure you're dialed into when the attack's gonna land. It's a timing-based game. As someone who's not crazy about things like QTEs, at first I was not a fan of this, but I have to say, especially with the more forgiving window in the 3DS remake, plus the follow-up attack, it felt more rewarding in this than when I was playing it on Switch Online for the original Game Boy Advance version. I have to say, once my adventure was complete, I did lean towards the 3DS version. More on that in a little bit. But that's just one half of it, the timing of your basic attack, but also when it's the enemy's time to attack, you have to time your dodge, and that's how you jump out of the way of certain attacks, maybe jump multiple times, or they'll do an attack that'll hit both bros, so you both have to jump. There's a fun challenge to all of that, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but let's continue on with this manual. So tabbing through, here's the ad for the Game Boy player, and then right after this, I believe, is the Bros actions. It is. So you'll see here the Mario Bros moves, and they go over all these different field actions you can do. So there's the solo actions I was going through, like talking to people, jumping, you can hammer things eventually later on in the game, but there's also Bros actions where they team up. So they show here the spin jump, the high jump. There's also ones that you can do which shrink down Mario to a mini Mario, a Luigi dunk, and so on. What this game manages to do is, like I said, be equal parts Mario and RPG. So just because it's an RPG doesn't mean it forsakes the exploration and platforming that Mario's known for. It's not the major focal point, but those things I'm talking about, like high jump, spin jump, will get you all over the place. What that leads to is really fun exploration where I'm going around these corners, I'm hitting these tornadoes and sending myself after these spin jumps to really far off locations, finding some hidden loot. And it's not like you're gonna be fighting the sword of God or the shield of the devil. Not really. You're just going to be finding mushroom, one-up mushroom, and so on and so forth. You will be able to buy new equipment with your coins at shops, which I thought was really nice to see. But all of the RPG stuff melds in with the platforming, and I think it makes for a really unique experience. Now, those Bros actions I'm talking about, like the high jump, which gets you to naturally higher areas, or the spin jump, which lets you close in the distance on larger gaps, aren't just for platforming, they're useful Bros actions in combat as well. So what you'll be able to do is put in a sequence of buttons that will allow you to do massive damage. So Mario will leap off of Luigi, and then they'll throw each other into the air, and they'll finish it off with an attack that'll do maybe 10 plus damage, which in this game is a lot. That's another thing I appreciate. In the early goings, the numbers are really small. It's always a small number game. And it's funny is RPGs, and naturally, understandably so, get trapped with the massive numbers, constant, big hitting numbers. I like that this game keeps it small, subtle, tight, and focuses on being a Mario game. It's awesome because I'm not a huge Mario fan, but it feels like the hybrid for me, where I get that platforming goodness, but I still get a really unique turn-based RPG system with the Bros actions, with the timing, with the dodging, where it feels wholeheartedly unique. Not really anything I've played quite like it. Here you're gonna see it focuses a bit more on battles in the manual as you go through it, defensive actions, non-attack commands, ending battles and leveling up. And when you level up, what's going to happen is you'll select where your stats go. Now, the bonus roll in the Game Boy Advance version is entirely random. For the 3DS version, so forgiving. I was getting +4s, +3s to all my stats. It makes the game a lot easier because one thing I also love about at least the Superstar Saga game on Game Boy Advance is you can feel that stat investment. When I'm putting points into strength on Mario, you can feel it. When I'm putting points in the defense on Luigi, you can feel it. It's not often you get that, again, because we mess with such big numbers in RPGs that typically it's a little lost in the shuffle, and it's more like the makeup of your equipment and your stats. In this game, it's very stat-oriented, and I appreciate it for that. I have my love for all the equipment-driven RPGs, but I like that this game, again, focuses more on stats and interactivity rather than the usual trappings of RPGs, which are fine, but this one's trying to separate itself, and I respect that. What I also love about the game are the hints and sprite work here. Now, it's no surprise, Maddie's a big 16-bit RPG fan. It's pretty evident. But what I love is how much character is in the animations of the sprites. There's so many of them like freaking out and shaking and jumping a lot. It's so lively on screen, which is very unlikely, even in something that I complimented recently, like Octopath Traveler, because for every animation, it's not attached to a rig, but rather has to be drawn over and over. And so 2D games are difficult in their own very unique way, though they don't get that respect, in my opinion. But Octopath is a game we recently played where cutscenes are more active in the sequel, but they're still kind of stiff, might be the best word to use. Whereas in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, because they're jumping around, there's things popping up on screen, whether it be speech bubbles or, Bowser's eyes widening. It just has a lot of character, and it doesn't feel, if you will, like you're playing this stiff 16-bit RPG, but something much more. So I got to give kudos to the artist here for really elevating that part of the experience. That even goes into enemy design. So when you're about to be attacked by, say, a dry bones, if its head spins, I believe that means it's going to attack Luigi, but if it rotates, that's going to attack Mario. So it's those little hints that you pick up on, which makes encountering new enemies kind of exciting. Sometimes it's the color of the text of the enemy. Other times it's figuring out an in-battle puzzle, like this enemy hiding beneath two pillars. Okay, so I got to squish one, but he hides beneath the other. So I have to destroy the other before I attack him, where he will hide and get under the pillar that I haven't destroyed yet. It's just those little things that go a long way and shows that you don't need to have a breadth of mechanics, but rather get creative with what exists, which is something Nintendo's always done really well. Otherwise, the rest of the manual dives into the map itself. It shows off a tip, which tells you about the warp pipes that you can use to get around to other previously discovered ones in the Bean Bean Kingdom. You'll learn a bit more about shops here, which is cool. And then you'll see here that we have the original Mario Bros. With its own little separate section of the manual. You can kind of tell when looking from the side because you can see the bricks on the top. But I love when games do this stuff where they include like old games as a part of the new game because it adds that inherent value. But at the same time, what I also like about it is it reminds me of TMNT 3 Mutant Nightmare, where they included, I think it was Turtles in Time. You could unlock it in April's shop, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. But this game has the original Mario Bros here, which I thought just again was really nice. And then you get to the back of the manual and that's it. So that's your complete in-box copy of Mario Superstar Saga on Game Boy Advance. And what I really like about it, because it's just a really fun, happy-go-lucky game that has surprising characters that I really wasn't thinking the story was going to be based around, a lot of personality in the sprite, just a fun game with unique combat, but still being an RPG yet a Mario game at the same time. So the question you may be asking is, well, should I play that version on Switch, or should I go out of my way, pick this up alongside my 3DS and play the Bowser Minion Quest alongside all the changes here? Let's talk about the 3DS remake now. So the back says a righteous reimagining of the Mario and Luigi RPG that started it all. Two bros are better than one, and the plot thickens in Minions Quest. I love this art here, by the way, really cool. The inside, boom, no manual. Unfortunately, this was in the era of online manuals. You'll also notice this is a global copy. You can get these sealed for about $40 if you don't care about that little stamp there. Works fine on my 3DS from the US, so in case you're worried about like region locking or anything along those lines. Why do I kind of prefer this one? Number one, they don't lose the charm of the sprites because it's not fully too 3D looking. It's much more 3D presented. Normally you'll hear me complain when you wipe away anything 16-bit, but here I actually thought it didn't look bad at all, especially because they kept all that charm and vibrant character personality within the animation. So I like where they went artistically with the game. That's frame one, but frame two is really the quality of life enhancements here. So I mentioned the extra attack. This lets combat move along a bit quicker, but there's other little things here. For example, let's say you are running around like you typically would in the Game Boy Advance game. You have to press the A and B button to jump with both bros at the same time. In the 3DS, because you have multiple buttons, now you just press X and they both jump at the same time. Little things like that go a long way in just making it a little more streamlined, especially when you have to have them both jump at times to avoid traps in the environment. Double pressing a button with one thumb, unique, but a product of its time. Not a real deal breaker, but nice just to have here. Those little quality of life enhancements go a long way, such as being able to run away from battles without losing coins. I don't like when games try to penalize you for running away. One of my rare complaints about Octopath 2 is the game just doesn't want you to flee from combat. I sit there and think, look, y'all got random encounters. Random encounters are not bad, but you have random encounters. If I don't want to fight, let me go. And this game's like, you can go, but you're going to pay for it. Why? So I like that the 3DS remake says, yeah, you can go. You can go. You don't have to be punished for it. Probably my favorite quality of life enhancement is the mini-map. I think some of the navigation in the Game Boy Advance version can get confusing at times. I like how it uses the dual screen where you can see, of course, where you're going on the top screen, the environment, all that stuff, but on the bottom is your inventory. It's, of course, your mini-map, and it guides you all over the place. You, of course, have the world map in both versions, so you'll have like the red flag planted, and they'll tell you, okay, this is where you need to go for your next objective. That's all fine with me. It's when you're in that area itself, it can be at times a smidge easy to get confused, especially in a 16-bit game where some environments are going to look the same because they're reusing assets, which is understandable, but this game circumnavigates that issue as well. Probably the biggest talking point, though, is Bowser's minions. So this is a really fun, charming, separate quest line that I think makes the whole game. So first and foremost, it's not the typical turn-based battles that you really had in the base game where you're doing a lot of timing. It's still timing based, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a mob battle where you're forming your own army of Bowser's minions and taking on other armies. So the encounters are just unique compared to the rest of the game. What makes it more unique is this power triangle. So what happens is you it's crazy. It reminds me of Fire Emblem. I can't believe I'm saying it. But what you'll have is like flying enemies that are weak to ranged attacks, but the ranged enemies are weak to melee attackers, which are Goombas. It's just hilarious. But there's actually tactics behind it, which I thought was really nice to see. So as you're going through these battles, you can recruit other minions into your army, arrange who's going to be in battle with you, and then off you go. The battle music here is very Kingdom Hearts-like, and the writing is still super charming. There was a point where like Boo referenced Luigi's Mansion, and I went, I just played that for Halloween recently. Nice. I love that type of stuff. So to me, the real winner is this version here. There are changes that I imagine people aren't a fan of. Like, for example, in the Game Boy Advance version, you can swap Mario and Luigi positions, and it kind of gave the bros this equal standing and power, like they were both useful. In this game, you only run around as Mario, but when you select on the touchscreen, like your high jump, your spin jump, mini Mario, and so on and so forth, then it'll swap them, but it's not like you can just run around and explore as Luigi, which I know means a lot to people, because Luigi gets disrespected in this game, and I think with that removal of the mechanic, even more so here. So there are little changes here. There are more under the hood changes with numbers and shops and farming items that some people aren't crazy about. That's more on the minutia of someone as a newcomer. I'm not going to really care too much about, but you should be aware of. But yeah, overall, these games are fantastic. Got me in the Mario mood. I'm going to see the movie this weekend, and I'm excited about it. But these games are fantastic, and I do recommend you play them. If you don't have a 3DS, you don't want to spend the money on everything, you can get away with the Game Boy Advance version. It is fantastic. It's still great. It's where I did my playthrough, and then I hopped in here and went, well, this is also great. If you can do both, do both. But if you only have one, you're not losing out majorly by not playing the remake. There are just some quality of life enhancements I personally prefer. With that, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. So I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below. What do you think of both of these games? Fire away. Other than that, I will catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.